Hi and welcome to the Bolshevik News. Guys, big thank you to all the people over the last 9 days that have come over to Patron and pledged a bit of support on there for us. Big thank you to all the guys that have been supporting us for nearly now, guys, can you believe it, a decade we've been doing this. Things are starting to accelerate, not just with the magnetic poles, but actually the workload at the maverickstar Observatory. As you know, we're sourcing all the equipment now to build these new magnetometers that are going to be placed at various parts of the Earth. What we're trying to do is track what we can see on this map that was provided by Swarm, which is the higher regions of magnetic intensity over the northern and southern hemispheres. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be putting these magnetometers, first of all, on the progressive regions of these, where they're coming down from the north to the equatorial region and from the south up to the equatorial region. We're going to put them in the paths of the progressing higher intensity regions, so that we can track when it starts to move it closer into those 50-60 nanotesla ranges. That will give us an idea of how fast these regions are progressing. If it's anything to go by, if we just take, for instance, the Siberian region, and we know that the Arctic climate seems to follow these magnetic intensities, and it should be no coincidence to anyone that the reason why we've got magnetic poles in the Arctic regions is by no coincidence at all. So it is common sense to expect that as these magnetic intensity regions move and migrate towards the equatorial region, they do take the Arctic climate with it. If we look at over the year what's been going on with farming in these regions, and just for instance in the South China Islands, we see that they've lost thousands of heads of cattle as a result of sub-zero temperatures that they've experienced for the first time in probably 1,000 years. That's where we are, guys, with how things are moving. So, as we've done before, just a quick comparison. These are the high intensity magnetic regions over the northern hemisphere. These are the sub-zero temperatures over the Arctic region. As you can see, there is a very similar pattern, and that just rebuts what we've just said, especially when you look at where the United Kingdom's placed in between these two polar regions, and when you consider where all our compasses are pointing right now is in the centre of these two regions. One thing to note, recently over the last 7 years there has been a dramatic change in the Canada pole, and the high intensity region is reducing rapidly, and that can only mean one thing. If you remember the experiment I done the other day with two magnets, and we put the compass down in the vicinity of those two magnets, you saw that it pointed directly in between the two of them, and that's exactly what we've got going on right now over the northern hemisphere. Point is when the Canadian magnetic region weakens, that's going to increase the acceleration of the pole towards Siberia, and I predict we've got probably 7 years before the intensity goes down to pretty much nothing at all. So we are probably looking at some very rapid movements in the magnetic pole towards Siberia. Now, there has been some articles out that right now over in the Ukraine, they're saying that they've got a magnetic pole, and what I think they're looking at is the intense region which is covering the Ukraine right now, and that could be giving them the impression that they have got the magnetic pole in the Ukraine. But this is not just related to the Ukraine, this is going to be related to the whole of Russia and North China right now, because if you look at the high intensity map, the Swarm magnetic map, you can see that that high intensity region does cover pretty much Russia. There has been a lot of articles saying that the pole is accelerating towards Siberia. Guys, newsflash, the poles are already in Siberia, they're already in Russia, and they're already in North China, and that high intensity region is drawing down towards its antipart, the South Pole, and you can see the South Pole is rushing up towards the equatorial region, and is already the high intensity region in the South Pole is already in southern parts of Australia. So we're in an advanced state right now of a earthly magnetic reversal, and it's a rare event. And I've got to say, for you guys out there, don't take this for granted. The last time it happened was 780,000 years ago, and there is no recorded documentation of what to expect during a complete rotation, and it does look like we are going through a complete magnetic rotation at this point in time. So we're going to do our best here at the maverickstar Observatory to cover whatever we can. We're taking the next initiative, which is to get these magnetometers out in the paths of these progressing poles over the northern and southern hemisphere. We've got somebody that recently said that they had people in Argentina and in the Falkland Islands. I know it's not on the path down there, but that's our best shot, unless we can get some researchers that are actually working on the Antarctic continent, but I doubt that is going to be possible. So if we can get them as close as possible, that would be good enough for us. But we have had somebody offer at the moment. We've had plenty of people offer to put these magnetometers in Australia and in Canada and in the United States. We're going to struggle, and we have got a few people now trying to help with this. Diamond on the Open Hammer Ranch is going to be speaking to a few people that he knows that are on the ground in China that would probably put these magnetometers in there. And the reason why I say we're going to struggle is because China is pretty much no-go area for internet. So I doubt whether many of our videos are getting into China and Russia for that same reason. When I was looking on Google Earth for the best place to put these magnetometers, I just put a mark on the map. When I zoomed in there, it was North Korea, and I thought to myself, there is absolutely zero chance anybody is going to participate in that country. I could be completely wrong, but I think we also have to counter in the the possibilities that some of these countries could put people in harm's way. At the end of the day, I know what we're doing is innocent. We're trying to collect data for scientific research in these regions, but when people are collecting data of any sort, it could be seen as spying or espionage or anything like that, and we don't want to get people in trouble. So what we're going to do is look into all these possibilities within these regions and do our utmost best to make sure everything is legal, and we can collect our data and relate back to you guys. I was doing a podcast with Diamond yesterday, and he's a great guy. He's helped our observatory immensely over the last 2 weeks, and I can't thank him enough for that. And guys, you should go and have a look at what he talks about on his channel, because he's discussing a lot of the things we do and talks about a lot of other implications that are related to this topic. So guys, go over there. I know a lot of you have come over there recently from the Open Hammer Ranch, as Diamond has said, follow Gene on this expedition with this project that we've got on hand at the moment. So I can only say big thanks and welcome to those new guys that have come over from there. And guys, I know a lot of you do already, but if you don't and you haven't seen some of the podcasts that he does, I think you'll find them very interesting. So by all means, pop over there. Guys, it's amazing. We've got 75 patrons, and they've raised a total between them of $407 to date. That money is going to help support the observatory. It's also going to be buying all this equipment that we're going to use, and we're not just going to stop there at the 6 magnetometers. We can measure the epicenters of these magnetic regions, but for now what we're going to concentrate on is getting at least the 6 to 8 magnetometers built over the next few weeks. I know a lot of the parts aren't due until around about 10th of February, but as soon as they do start to come in, we've got all the parts we need. We're going to do some build videos. I'm going to have a look at what equipment I've got already, and I do have a lot of stuff floating around. Hopefully we can start the build videos this week. I've promised I'm going to do something special for the patrons on Friday, and I'm going to keep that promise. You guys are the guardians of this universe for our channel and observatory, so I think it's only fair I give a little bit back in return for you guys. And what, guys, let's also just remember that there are people supporting us on PayPal as well, which is amazing. Like I say, since Christmas it's exploded, and that's recently because of the uptick in the magnetic pole migration, and it's caused a lot of hysteria with the general public and driven a lot of interest because mainstream media have been picking up on this quite regularly. A lot of organisations are due to release a lot of information on the magnetic poles as soon as they come back to government over there in the US, like NOAA, and it'll be interesting to see what they have to say. Are they going to mention the rapidly reduction of the Canadian pole? Are they going to mention that the magnetic pole is migrating and acting peculiar, as our equipment has detected 4 months ago? I mean, we came out before all these organisations, guys. That just proves our equipment is, excellent. It's doing a fantastic job, and there's no reason why we can't continue to do that. Remember, we've got a small budget. It is a ridiculously small budget at the end of the day compared to these organisations. They have millions and millions of pounds to invest in their equipment. They can employ project managers, programmers, developers. They can develop their equipment over a long period of time. We just don't have that luxury. But we are in a time where technology is readily available, and if you've got a little bit of know-how like I have, you can put it together. If you've got a bit of programming skills, you can program the equipment. There's no reason why we cannot give them a good run for the money, and that is exactly what we proved over the last 4 months. We've coming out before these organisations did and telling people there is some activity picking up over in the Northern Hemisphere. So let's see how brave these organisations want to be, and let's see whether they're going to come out with, first of all, telling people that there's a massive reduction in the intensity of Canada with regards to the poles. If what we're saying and believing and the theory holds, we're going to see Canada in some parts get warmer if the intensity collapses over that region. We're going to at the same time see a depletion in the magnetosphere, because if you lose anything magnetic, then it's going to have, I would assume, some effects on the magnetosphere of this planet, which means more inbound cosmic radiation. And compiling on top of that, we've got a solar constant going into an all-time low, a grand solar minimum, and has done so for the last 3 consecutive solar cycles. The last 33 years, it's dropped off exponentially over there. So with that, we've got more cosmic radiation inbound again. This can only play havoc with our atmosphere in seeding it with more water condensation. As a result of that, the jet streams are going to do a lot more than what they're doing right now. And what I'm talking about there is they're going to get a lot more lazier, they're going to get wider, they're going to deposit flash floods much worse than what we've seen already. And as a result of that, we're also going to see in some parts of this world prolonged droughts, like people are starting to talk about now in Australia and South Africa. This is, as was described by some governments many years ago, climate chaos, but for different reasons that they said. I mean, they was talking about climate chaos caused by CO2. The cat is out of the bag on that one now. Everybody knows, or should know by now, that the climate chaos is not a result of CO2 in the atmosphere. They never talked about the other greenhouse gas, which was more abundant in our atmosphere, and that was simply the water molecule, the tri-molecule H2O. That's one of the major greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. And if we keep compiling through cosmic radiation being inbound into our atmosphere, all this we're going to do is block out even more solar radiation in a time where there's less solar activity, and in a time where there's a weakened magnetosphere on the Earth. It's going to go a lot worse than this, guys. And what we're trying to do is answer those 2 main questions for you guys with putting the equipment in the places that we are. How long before things really start to get bad? And what have we got to expect? And we can only answer those questions when we get more equipment out there and collect more data on this. But you can rest assured, guys, that unlike these organisations that have used taxpayers' money and not relayed the information back to the general public, we will do completely the opposite to that, as we have done for the last nearly a decade now on this channel, and recently on the Observatory. So I can only say, guys, keep supporting what we do. It's a fun. I mean, I hope you do appreciate that it is a massive effort that has been put in, and a lot of people have put money that they couldn't really afford to into this. So, you know, there is, you know, a demand, a will to do it. And, you know, I just want to hope that more people join Patron and, you know, keep supporting us with PayPal and, you know, supporting us in watching our uploads, and, you know, I hope they enjoy the content that we put out with regards to that. That's all there is to say, guys. You know, the links are down there, and I'm going to mention a few people that have gone beyond ordinary help. I'm going to mention their names down in the comment section, and I just want to say a big thank you to them, and a big thank you to everybody that has helped support us to this point. And there's more to come. There's a lot more to come, guys, as we continue in this progressive stage now of the magnetic reversals that are taking place in our lifetimes right now on our doorsteps. I'll leave it there, guys. I'll say what I always do. Bye for now.